Want to share what's been on my mind this week. And for whatever reason, it's covetousness. People are just being covetous, people being self centered, never feeling like they are receiving what it is they deserve. Um, and you see that not just at ICE. I don't want to just confine it to there, but pretty much anywhere you go where leftist ideology is dominant, you encounter this spirit of envy. And it can be tricky to spot, but if you can spot it, it's like now you can see the matrix. You just see nothing but code. It's that obvious to you, because what they'll do, the left, Marxists, far leftists, communist, social, whatever, they disguise their envy as virtue, right? They'll say, "Oh no, I'm just fighting inequality and I'm fighting oppression." No, what you're really doing is you're just being envious. You're just covetous. There is legitimate inequality in the world, and that is something that we will always have. There will never be a solution that comes from us that will solve inequality. It won't happen. Jesus said the poor will always be with us until he comes back, right? So to work in harmony with what Christ said, should we do what we can to give and to be charitable and to be generous? Sure. But that should be purely by voluntarism. It shouldn't be compelled by the state, which is what socialism and communism demand. It demands that you basically go against your own self interest, your own nature, and become. Under the Soviet Union, they called it the Soviet man. It's basically where um, the Soviet man is somebody who only is productive and he's only doing good things. He's only doing good things for himself, others, his community, society, everything. And they think that because they believe that people are blank slates. It's called social constructionist or social constructionism. Um, and they believe that human beings are essentially blank, and it's society and external forces which write upon that human being, their upbringing, their parents, their exposure, the country they're born in, the language that they speak, the economic conditions. They believe that those are the things that create a person, and those are the only things. They don't acknowledge that human beings have a nature within us that just inclines us toward certain directions. So the irony in a socialist or a communist saying or accusing capitalists of being selfish and greedy when they're the ones who are actively seeking redistribution, which is just it's just theft by another name, right? Um, but also this idea of envy too from the receiving end. Let's just say you're talking to somebody who's just they have a very Cain like disposition where they feel as though the sacrifices that they are giving aren't yielding the results that they want. That was Cain's whole dilemma. And we know that God said, you need to change. You need to change. It's not something that anybody else is doing. You are receiving bad results because you're giving bad sacrifices. Now, the flesh doesn't like to hear that because it does not like to hear that the flesh is insufficient. It's not enough. You need more. Um, so, to be on the receiving end of that, how do you protect yourself from those sorts of people? And the answer is you need to be very careful and judicious with who you share good information with. For example, let me use a very extreme example. If I won the lottery, I would tell no one, not even my own family. And I would eventually tell them, but it would be metered. And that's not just to protect myself, that's also to protect them. Um, so, likewise, the problem that I see at the bedrock, at the root of what sort of the engine that drives, and I'm just talking about like philosophical engine. I'm talking about like the human component behind socialism is this deep envy and being covetous. And so that's been on my mind a lot lately, and it's something that doesn't come naturally, because when something good happens to you, you naturally want to share it with other people, because you only existing within your own head, you don't realize that there are other people, maybe within your close circle, maybe within even your immediate family, who they have become so consumed by envy, they don't want good things to happen to you. And so if you tell them good things, oh, I got married, or I had a baby, or I got a raise, or whatever it might be, depending on that person, the receiving person's heart condition, they could be jealous and envious, and that could, um, I'm not saying it's your fault that they're going to behave that way, but sharing good information with the wrong people could cause them to uh, act in selfish, unloving, covetous, envious, in otherwise sinful ways. It's a hard concept to get your head around, because, like I said, if they're your family, you just assume that everyone wants what's good for you. That's not always the case, and that's something that comes with experience, time, and just exposing yourself to a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people. But it's an important one to learn. So Jordan Peterson has a really good. he he was asked, because his first book he released 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos, and one of the questions he was asked, and was a really good question actually, is someone asked him during an interview, hey, what's the there's 12, but if you could do 13, what would be that 13th rules for life? And it was, be careful who you share good news with. And I thought that was profoundly insightful, because it requires cross-examination, it requires introspection, and it requires an ability to gaze a little bit into other people's minds, so you're not just walking around naively, uh, just broadcasting your accomplishments, your achievements. Um, so yeah, I'm going to copy Jordan Peterson, because I can't say that better myself. Be careful who you share good news with.